Look, up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's Superman. Nope, not Superman. It is Jeff Goldblum. Welcome back to Toy Thursday with Johnny Tiger on December 9, 2021. Today we're continuing our Grandpa's That Throwdown series to showcase some of the more badass, more hardcore, older male characters in comic books and pop culture. So why is Jeff Goldblum in front of the camera? Or rather, this is Jeff Goldblum with a blue stripe painted across his chin, and he is dressed in some ornate costume. Who is this? Who is this character? Well, this character is called the Grandmaster. Um, we'll get to the Grandmaster in a little bit. But first, let me first rant a little bit about Jeff Goldblum. You see, mostly people bought this action figure not because he's the Grandmaster. I think most people, even those who know about the Grandmaster, uh, whether through his appearance in Marvel Comics or his appearance in the Ragnarok Thor Marvel Cinematic movie, I don't think anyone really uh, cared enough about the Grandmaster as a character to be really hyped about acquiring him. However, many people were looking forward to this action figure. In fact, this action figure was released twice, both time in a two-pack. Now, in case you never thought of this, this is a very annoying practice on the part of Hasbro. Why is that really annoying? Because both times he's released in a two-pack alongside another character, but both times he's released with a different character, which means you're kind of going to end up with two Grandmasters in your collection. The only difference between the two Grandmasters is their expression. One that was a SDCC exclusive, released in a pack with his brother, the Collector, was had a smiling, laughing countenance, and the one that you see here, that released in the mass market with his one of his gladiator Korg. This one has a more neutral, serious expression. That's the only difference. So it's like you are forced to get two of this guy. But a lot of people were still really happy about seeing this action figure because, and this is confirmed by reading multiple online reviews, everyone talk about, okay, it doesn't matter if this is a good character, it doesn't matter if this is a good action figure, it's Jeff Goldblum. Because it's Jeff Goldblum, everybody seems to want this action figure. And here is my rant. As a person who came to English movie, Hollywood, and all this stuff late in my life, I came to Canada in 1989, but it wasn't until almost 2000 that I started to actually be exposed to watch English or Western or Hollywood movies. Uh, Growing up in a primarily Taiwanese Chinese household, of course, most of the movies we were watching when I was growing up were Asian kung fu movies, Asian dramas, etc., etc. So this is to say, I have a very rudimentary grasp of Hollywood stars, the famous names that people seem to take for granted. Uh, People seem to know uh, as soon as they mentioned uh, Jeff Goldblum. Everybody, oh, that's the guy. Oh, I want an action figure of him. You tell me about Jeff Goldblum. I vaguely remember hearing the name associated with Jurassic Park. I don't bloody know who. he really is. I have no connection with the guy. I have no emotional connection or memory of the guy. So it was quite baffling to me reading all these reviews and people, rather than talking about whether the Grandmaster is a good action figure or if the Grandmaster was a good character, most reviews seem to talk about it's Jeff Goldblum and that's good enough. Yeah, that's just something that I uh, was very uh, baffled by and something that I had a hard time understanding. Now, let's jump forward to talking about the Grandmaster because while I don't know that much about Jeff Goldblum, uh, other than what I can read on his biography, the kind of movies he's been involved with and all that stuff, that doesn't really tell me anything, by the way. Um, just knowing that someone was in the movie, uh, unless I have a very fond memory of that movie and that character, it's not going to really help me. For example, uh, I know uh, the who the person who played Sarah Connor in Terminator, but because I wasn't really into Sarah Connor as a character, for me, I watch Terminator because I want to watch Arnold Schwarzenegger, and not because I want to watch Sarah Connor. So when the Sarah Connor action figure get released, it really didn't excite me that much. Uh, anyway, enough of my personal failings and preferences and shortcomings. Let's talk about the Grandmaster, who I actually know a little bit about. The Grandmaster is one of the elders of the universe. Now, that is not the same as the Masters of the Universe and He-Man and Skeletor and all that. We're talking about Marvel comic. So, who are the elders of the universe? Well, the story goes that these were deities or beings or life forms born nearly at the same time as the universe itself. So that puts the Grandmaster as one of the oldest living creature in the entire universe by Marvel standard. Uh, he wasn't alone. He had brothers that were just as weird and eccentric and as old as he is. One of them is called the Collector, uh, who basically spent his long immortal life collecting rare and exotic items and creatures. The Grandmaster, on the other hand, his uh, geekdom, his interest lies in the more twisted and dark area. You see, the Grandmaster, he lived for so long that his only means of excitement is to watch other powerful creatures battle to the death in the gladiator arena that he created himself. Taking over the planet called Sacker, the Grandmaster made himself the tyrant, the ruler of the Saccharan people and the planet Sacchr. There he built the arena of champions where he would enslave some of the most powerful beings in the universe, such as the Incredible Hulk, Beta Ray Bill, Thor the Thunder God, the Valkyrie, etc., etc. Many of the most powerful heroes and villains have been enslaved by him before and forced to fight in his twisted and demented gladiator arena just for him and his people's entertainment. Outwardly, the Grandmaster appears as a very friendly, very charming, eccentric ruler of a planet. However, underneath all that is a ruthless, cruel streak. If anyone was to offend him, he has no problem executing them on the spot by melting them down to a puddle of goo with his personal weapon, the melt stick, as shown in the Ragnarok movie when he did it to his own cousin Carlos. Why would the Grandmaster, one of the oldest beings in the universe, has a cousin called Carlos? I don't know. That's just something really kind of weird. But anyway, there was a cousin called Carlos. He pissed off the Grandmaster, and the Grandmaster melted him down to a puddle of goo using his personal walking stick, the melt stick, to make sure that his gladiator do and obey every one of his wishes and commands, and to make sure that he always can cheat if someone was going to beat his favorite gladiator. The Grandmaster implanted them with a device called the obedient disc. Now, through the obedient disc, he can shock them, he can torture them, he can sap them of their energy, he can do all kinds of things. Even the Thunder God Thor and the Incredible Hulk weren't strong enough to resist the influence of the obedience disc. So you see, while I have no personal interest in Jeff Goldblum, and the Grandmaster really doesn't look like that interesting as a action figure. He's basically, well, guy, he's kind of rather skinny looking guy, in a ornate set of robes. Uh, he does qualify to be one of the more badass, more hardcore grandpas. He is one of the oldest grandpas in the universe. On top of that, he's able to enslave some of the most powerful heroes and villains in the universe. And he is a tyrant. He owns his own planet. He runs his own gladiator arena. And so far, even though people have rebelled against him and succeeded, and people have escaped from him, heroes and villains have escaped from his arena. No one has thus far done away with him yet. So uh, he definitely qualifies as a very devious, very hard to kill, very hardcore grandpa figure in the Marvel universe. Now, let's take a closer examination, a closer look at this action figure itself. While in the comic book, the Grandmaster is basically a human with blue skin. Uh, in the movie, he's even more boring than that. In the movie, he's Jeff Goldblum with a blue stripe across his chin, with his fingernail and toenail painted blue. But beyond that, he's just Jeff Goldblum. This action figure depicts him wearing a gold robe and gold sandals. He has a red sash around his waist. Beneath the gold robe, he's wearing a blue shirt and some rather ordinary looking suit pants. He is depicted to be rather scrawny and ordinary looking, uh, so there's really not much uh, to be said about this action figure unless you're a big fan of Jeff Goldblum. Now, I did not get this action figure for Goldblum or the Grandmaster. I got this because of the action figure he came with, the other guy he came with, the Korg, the rock based creature that we've shown in our Earth Element series uh, a while ago. So I'm not going to rehash the origin of Korg and his backstory and all that stuff. Uh, uh, we'll just say that Korg is one of the gladiators enslaved by the Grandmaster and then later won his freedom rebelling against the guy. So that's why they came in the two pack. So I got this two pack mainly because I really loved Korg as a character and I wanted a big rocky uh, monster dude in my collection. Uh, as far as the Grandmaster go, it's cool to add another uh, old alien being to the collection, but as far as design goes, he just really doesn't do all that much for me. His robe uh, is floor lengths that go all the way down to the floor. So unfortunately, you can't really get him to do any dynamic poses because the rope will hinder his leg articulation. However, the Grandmaster doesn't really jump around or even do anything too dynamic. Most of the time, he's just walking around and watching people fight and executing people and giving command. So I think without the ability to be too dynamic isn't that big of a deal for him as it would be for other action figures. His arms do have pretty good range of motion, and his robe is quite interesting in that the left sleeve is quite large and full, while the right sleeve seems to be like cut off. Uh, you can actually remove the robe from this action figure, but he won't look right without it because the sleeve is actually sculpted as part of his arm. So even though you take off the robe, he's still going to have the robe's sleeve on his arm. So you might as well leave that robe on there. He's already pretty skinny. You take off the robe, he looks even worse. Now, because the back of his robe go all the way to the ground, it does give him a very solid support. So you can actually get the Grandmaster to stand on one leg and do a high kick, like the Grandmaster is doing ballet dancing like this. In addition to coming with his companion Korg, the Grandmaster comes with his personal favorite weapon or tool, the melt stick. What is a melt stick? Well, I don't really know what it's supposed to be. The melt stick is like a really tall high-tech walking cane with a ball at the top. Personally, it kind of reminds me a little bit of a toilet plunger without the bottom part, but that's just my uneducated mind at work. Um, so anyway, melt stick is this high-tech uh, cane or walking cane or staff that the Grandmaster carries around, and whoever displeases him, he can somehow use this to melt them down to a puddle of goo. We don't know if it's his power or if the power is all in the melt stick, and without it he would be helpless. And does it have to recharge, or would it work on everybody, or does it only work on a certain type of creature? We don't know. We don't know how it works. And maybe that is what makes the Grandmaster so dangerous because you don't really know how he works. You don't know uh, if he really is just a crazy old eccentric tyrant who likes to watch people fight, or maybe he does have some kind of earth-shattering magic at his command. Uh, None of us really know that, and uh, all we know is he carry around this melt stick, and if you piss him off, he will melt you down like you were a pile of melted sugar or some melted plastic. In the end, if you were a Jeff Goldblum fan, this action figure definitely fits the bill. I was told that he does look a lot like Goldblum. Or if you just want a generic old alien being on your shelf, hanging out in the background, commanding people with a high-tech looking cane in his hand, no matter of your purpose or your reason for getting this figure, the character of the Grandmaster definitely fit our list of grandpas that throw down. He is one of the oldest creature, one of the oldest being in the universe, and he is able to enslave and control so many powerful heroes, villains, and other notorious and infamous creatures all over the universe. So that's it, folks. Uh, the Grandmaster, our grandpa who threw down of this week. Next week, we'll come back and look at another old but still very hardcore, very badass character. We'll be back again tomorrow for Fitness Friday with Johnny Tiger and Kitten. For now, have a good night.